Hey everybody. We are doing another painting stream tonight. And tonight, in honor of the news we just received about or not Filoni, Favreau, going to be making a Mandalorian movie, I've decided to work on my Din Djarin mini for Legion.
Nice.
And yeah, and that's Kurt. Kurt's joining me tonight.
Hey, everyone.
Um, yeah, so I've already kind of did a little bit of work on this beforehand. I primed it black, and then all the silver you see on here is this. I wanted to try out this super shiny uh, Turbo Dork metallic paints,
Hmm.
and it's about like the shiniest silver I've ever used. I mean, as far as like an actual paint, like I've seen people use like some of like those chrome markers or whatever, you know what but the to get like really uh like silvery looking stuff. um
Mm-hmm.
but I've heard that like it rubs off really easy, so it's like not real great for
Sure.
like actual minis.
Yeah.
um but yeah, so I started with that. I'll be interested to see just how much, like it's almost like too shiny, like it looks like, straight out of the armorer's forge, super
Yeah.
shiny armor. And I want to see what I'm curious how it's going to look after I hit it with a blast of um, matte varnish. Just how much it's going to tone down the silver, like if it's going to end up being like about right then,
Hmm.
or am I going to have to go back over with like another little coat. Time will tell. But
Yeah, that's a really good question. I haven't tried the super chrome style before.
oh no, I hit my reference image. It's fixing my Discord audio. There. He's got so many different browns in his outfit that I've got some reference images pulled up on my computer here.
Mm-hmm.
Hello to Midnight Mayhem. Let's see. Yeah, I think this will be good. We'll start with kind of like his under suit thing. um, just sort of a little bit of a reddish. Seems like it's got a little bit of a reddish tint to it. So we'll try this Mornfang brown here.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't remember what colors I used on mine now because that's been quite a while ago. But also, I mean, I was trying to do like season one, episode one, so I wasn't even painting a lot of his armor silver either. So
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
sure he has different cloth uh, under layers at that point too, probably.
Um,
I feel like in later seasons, like he eventually got to wearing like a lot of gray. It seemed like
yeah,
maybe that was just his cape.
his cape is more of like a gray brown. Weird. There's like a weird. I don't know if it's like an actual like weird mold line, or if he actually does have like some sort of weird inside panel sewn on his pants right here. Huh.
Oh, I don't know.
It's interesting, like things you notice, like when you're painting a mini, like, and you're like, is that supposed to be there? Or like things you've never noticed before on a character that the modeler, like the fact that like Boba Fett is like kind of wearing like a thong. Never really noticed that till I started painting the mini. But yeah, and I noticed like I accidentally when I was doing my silver, I did this like I don't know, like this piece that covers his abs. I did that in the silver, and then after I started looking at reference images, I was like, oh, that's not actually supposed to be silver. That's like almost more like cloth padding. It's like
Yeah,
a
I remember
gray
that.
blue kind of color.
Yeah, there's kind of that like there's like it's almost like a belly panel that's separate even from the normal like piece that the plates are stitched onto or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So you painting anything while we chat tonight?
Yeah, I've got an owl bear that I've been
Ooh.
working on. Um, it's it's specifically an owl bear from the MCDM store, so it's kind of like a custom owl bear that they intended for people to use as a pet. And so it's got these like spiky metal armor plates on it, which I think adds a lot to like the character of the mini. Like it's not just a solid brown guy. You know, it's got all these cool plates and stuff, which has kind of been fun to play and paint. And then he's got like leather straps and these ropes and things that tie those plates on. So it's kind of been fun. I've been using it as an excuse to try out the Army Painter Speed Paint Metallics that I got recently, which Evan sent to me. So that was like a really good excuse to like put a bunch of silver on and see what it looks like. Um, and then I also used speed paints just like for the feather colors too, but kind of trying to figure out how to get it to look. I mean, the tough thing is it's like very owl looking, of course, but you know, not really owl looking to some extent. So trying to follow reference photos of owls is kind of fraught with it. Like real owls have a lot of spots and stripes and kind of blotchy colors. I mean, there's different kinds
Uh
of
huh.
owls, of course, but trying to figure out how to actually paint it and make it look owl like is interesting. I don't know that it's really working right now. What I did, I think the dark colors I tried to add into it, I don't know that they really read as organic or they just look weird. I don't know, but there's a long way to go to finish them too. Either way, it'll be fun to have it finished, however it looks.
Yeah, all bears are cool.
And I don't actually have any other Owlbear mini. So, I mean, this one's not really appropriate for most, since again, it's wearing armor and stuff. But, uh,
Could be say it's a wild shape owl bear. It's like
yeah,
hey, we put on some
yeah,
armor
it would
then or
work great for
something.
that. Yeah, it would be great for that. We ended up using it when I played D&D with my nephew over the holidays, and like of course I just had my box of minis and that one was in there, and of course he like immediately saw it and like pulled it out, and he's like, whoa, we have to get this as a pet, we have to write it and all this stuff, you know. So at the time it was just solid white but base coated, but then I was like, you know what,
Uh-huh.
I should paint it.
So, what are your thoughts on now yet another Star Wars movie being announced?
I mean, my very first thought was it could use a better name.
Yeah, just calling it The Mandalorian and Grogu is like I don't know. Mostly because I
Doesn't
think
even sound like a movie at that
Grogu's
point.
kind of a goofy name. It always has been. Like I still often call him Baby Yoda just because I don't really like the name
Yeah,
Grogu.
for sure. I don't mind it, but it definitely looks weird as a title because, like, I mean, people who haven't been watching the show are going to see this movie title and be like, what
What the fuck's
is
a
any of that?
Grogu?
I mean, did it even technically have Star Wars in the title?
Well, I'm sure it'll be like Star Wars colon uh the Mandalorian and Grogu, or maybe they won't because I mean the Mandalorian I think is culturally um like it's out there enough to where I think enough people have heard of it to where I think just saying the Mandalorian and having Din on a movie poster, people are gonna know what's going on.
Maybe.
And they'll see
I don't
Baby
know.
Yoda and they'll be like, "Oh, it's Baby Yoda." Who's this Grogu person in the title though? They're talking about though.
It definitely sounds like a TV show title to me. It's
BJ
like
and the Bear.
like yeah, Young Mandalorian Adventures or something is kind of what it is, like the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, I mean it worked. Like it worked. Like that kind of title worked for me with uh like the Ant Man and Wasp. I you know
Hmm.
like I
Yeah,
thought it was fine there. Um, like the same sort of structure. I don't know why. It's just the Mandalorian and Grogu sounds goofy. Mostly because
yeah,
it's like a title and a proper name together. I think that's part of it. To where I don't know. I'm sort of all like, well, why? Wait, why not call it the Mandalorian and the quitter Jedi kid or something? Like like so it's both so they both have like some kind of title or call it Din and Grogu, though no one would know who Din is. Even the people who watch the show, I bet, would be like, "Who is Din?"
yeah. Midnight Mayhem says Mando and the Kid.
I like it.
To me, it feels like it should be like. I mean, maybe it's overdone in Star Wars, but it feels like it should be like, you know, Attack of the Mandalorian, Revenge of the Mandalorian, something like that. I don't know what specifically, but Trials of the Mandalorian or something like that just feels more kind of attention grabbing to me. Who knows? I mean, maybe they'll change it at some point. I'm sure not much is set in stone. I forget, did they even say like a rough time frame
Well,
yet?
they said it's going to go into production in later this year, didn't they?
Okay. But not like a specific release date yet.
Uh-uh.
I hope. I hope
No.
they are just, it feels like it's early enough they can not commit to anything, and that's probably going to be easier given the way some of these other movie announcements have gone.
Yeah. So, I wonder if it was like if it has something to do with like Pedro Pascal not being able to commit to a full TV series again, that they were like, well, let's just make a movie for the next season, or what.
Yeah, I don't know. Because then the normal, like the Filoni verse movie is separate from this, right?
Yeah, Filoni,
The
Dave
huge team up,
Filoni. I mean, I guess we don't know
as
that
far
that's
as
what
we
it's going to
know.
be. I mean, it's sort of been implied that that's what the movie is supposed to be, sort of like the end cap to the Filoni uh verse stories. I guess I mean, he's kind of the creative head of everything for Star Wars now, so I don't. We probably should stop calling just these shows the Filoniverse, but it's an easy way to separate them out. But yeah, it's so I mean that's still in production, but I mean, I don't know. Is it still going to be that? Is it going to really just be more of like an Ahsoka season 3 now? Now that there's gonna be a Mando movie too? Who knows?
Yeah, either way, I have a lot of questions since the little press release thing was almost no info. I mean, the image was cool. That's not worth that much. The little like concept art type
Uh-huh.
thing. But yeah, I really wonder what the actual point of it will be.
Okay, that's all his cloak there. There's some more of his back that I can't. I'll kind of just hit it a little bit. So at least, but from like 90% of angles, you're never going to see that. So that's okay.
Mm.
So yeah, that's Under Armour done. And yeah, I need more of a gray brown for his cloak.
Go-to gray brown for me is always storm vermin fur. It's more gray than brown, but it's kind of has a little bit of a brownish tinge to the gray. I feel like.
Gorthor, yeah, that's kind of what I was looking at.
Oh
But
yeah,
it's
that too.
but it's
More
like
on the brown side, but that's a good one.
but it's darker. It's definitely darker than this. Like I almost think I might mix this with a little bit of brown. What's that midnight was saying about Firefly? My monitor's too far away from my painting station. I can't read
Uh,
chat very well.
like Firefly could be a closer movie to the Mando TV.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I mean, like that one, I thought Serenity was like such a quality improvement in a lot of ways over the show that like that one worked out really well.
Mm-hmm. Even if it
I
did,
mean, it didn't work out well in sales, but it worked out well in the
yeah.
end product, I feel like.
Even though it did feel a bit rushed, like it's sort of like he tried to cram every storyline that he had never got to explore in the TV show into
Yeah,
the
that's true.
into the movie a little bit, and I felt like I don't know, like the movie kind of
Because you
suffered a
really have
little
to
bit.
wrap things up. I mean, we could see that with this Mando one too, if they're like I mean, so far they don't seem super interested in most of the little side characters they've introduced, but they might try to wrap up a bunch of stuff and it might be too much. I don't know. And then random idiot says, I'm cautiously optimistic about the movie. I
I,
guess that's where I'm at too. It's kind of like a wait and see, but I hope it's cool. It's kind of too early to assume it's going to suck.
oh, did I get a black sitting here? Maybe not mixing straight black in there. It's gonna get too dark. We'll go. You know
I
what?
feel like it depends a little bit on like what they are intending it to be about because I don't know. Right now, like coming out of season 3, I feel a little bit over like Mandalore focused stuff. Like I want them to find some interesting side adventure that's like a self-contained plot more than anything. But I also kind of doubt that they would set their sights low like that.
So I'm blending in with that Gorthor brown. I'm doing a storm vermin fur because
Mm-hmm.
that's already a
Kind of a
brown, or I mean
brownish
a
gray.
gray with a fair amount of brown tones in it.
Yeah, I
But
think
it's
so.
like not quite brown enough, and then like Gorthor
Yeah.
brown isn't gray enough. So the two of them together gets me about where I want to be.
Well,
It's
and
still.
how you want to highlight it too.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm still thinking it's a little light, but for his cloak.
Maybe put some Agrax or Null Noel or something on it too.
Well, that's what I'm trying to decide if it's gonna be okay after I shade it, or I'm just gonna put just like the slightest as touch of black in there, just to just to darken it up a little bit. Yeah, what the heck? Yeah, there. That's pretty good, I think. We played any games with the Geonosians quick yet. Unfortunately, we only got sent one set of Geonosians, and those got shipped to Joe because he was the one who first emailed Atomic Mass back when we were like kind of setting up uh, our communications with them. And so and so of course he gave them his own address. So he's the guy that they ship
Mm-hmm.
everything to. So he's the only one with any Geonosians right now, unfortunately. And Joe, who would normally be with us, is at his game shop playing Star Wars Queen's Gambit board game tonight because he found somebody in the area who actually has a copy of this board game. I don't know if you've heard us talk about it on the show before, but it's one of the rarest Star Wars board games out there. So it's hard to find. If you want to buy a copy, it's usually a few $100. So yeah, he found somebody with a copy, and so they are playing that tonight. So Joe did not go on the stream, and he's the only one who's got the Geonosians, so he would be the one who would have to answer that question.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what he said about them so far. I think he did like maybe just one match with them. And obviously they're like very fast.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I know he has played with them, but yeah, like you said, I'm trying to remember exactly what comments he made about him. The top of my
I
head.
feel like I remember him saying that Sun Fac was a little disappointing. Like he doesn't really do much damage on his own, but I think he liked the other units, the main actual Geonosians, and then the Poggle, especially like some of Poggle's cards. I think were effective. Are those ones you've ordered, Leo? Do you have any separatists today?
The only separatists I have, I mean, I've got the core set stuff. I've got a few of the first couple waves of separatist stuff that I haven't really got around to assembling or painting or anything yet, just because I don't really like that army that much. I don't find most of the characters that interesting. I mean, I've just never been a huge prequel person in the first place, so and I guess between the two prequel factions, I think the clones are a little bit cooler, so I've got more of those, but I also mostly stick to just rebels and imperials.
Yeah, I kind of haven't decided if I want to get them yet. The models do look really great. Like I really loved Joe's paint jobs, and that makes me want to get them and try painting them as well. And I feel like they would add a lot of variety to separatists, but I also haven't been playing very much, so I haven't been buying very much either. But I think I'll probably end up getting them because they do seem really like. I'll like, get like one box of them, right? I don't need to get a bunch of them, but they seem like they would be cool to get.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely look fun to paint too, because they're I mean also like they're one of those units that just whether you're um an experienced painter or a new painter, you can get good results because I mean they look pretty good just honestly just by slapping some contrast or some speed paints on them, you're already like half done.
Yeah, Joe got some really good results out of his speed paints and like very quickly too. So
Yeah, Django for the CIS would be another cool unit.
yeah, I'm surprised they haven't done it yet.
Yeah, well,
And Idoit says, "What's your favorite Star Wars model you painted?" Mine is a third-party Plo Koon model that I gave a little electric judgment effect to, as in the is that his light side force lightning.
um, you know what's my been my favorite honestly has to paint has ended up being the I really enjoyed painting the Rebel bus. Um,
Yeah,
that ended up just being a lot of fun. Just kind of going wild with playing around with weathering and all kinds of stuff like that on it. Like, um, I was surprised. Like, it was ended up being a pretty fun kit to assemble and to just all around paint. I also
yeah,
really enjoyed doing a Grievous. You know, like I said, I'm not really playing the CIS or doing them much, but okay. But I really liked painting Grievous. I was really happy with how he my Grievous I did ended up turning out.
yeah. I really love weathering and stuff too, and so that makes my mind for me go to my AAT, which was same thing. I really liked adding all these extra scratches and dirt and smoke and stuff on it. That's one that I think turned out well and was fun to do. Like I remember it feeling like it went very quickly too because I was having so much fun with it. You know, it's a really big model, and I was like, actually, that didn't take that long because it was just kind of fun to just knock it out.
Yeah, it's always nice with things like that where you can like when you can make a mistake and then just be like, "Oh, no big deal because I'm just going to turn this mistake into like a weathering spot." And then who cares?
Yeah, yeah, and that makes it feel very creative in a fun way that I like. Like it's very just it scratches that really creative itch in a fun way. Just kind of see what happens. Especially if you're doing like sponges or anything, it's kind of like you have a rough idea and you're kind of like, let me just see what scratches turn up out of this.
Get some those they're either very dark brown or they're black, like his fingerless gloves. Well, they're not fingerless, but they're like
Two layers, sort of.
where like like where your fingers would be on a fingerless glove. It's just they're all
It's
it's
a
like
second
just
glove.
yellow. Yeah, it's like but is it's either black or very dark gray.
Let me see. Let me find if I had any good reference photos of him from in the day.
Oh, is that what that ability was from? Was Jedi Power Battles? I remember playing that as a kid a lot at my friend's house. Um, but I don't remember playing. But I never got to play Plo Koon because he was like, my friend decided he was the most badass character in the game, and so it was his
Mm,
PlayStation. So he always got to play Plo Koon. I never got to. And yeah, I don't know if we'll ever see Nawat Tambor or Newt Gunray. I mean, especially like Newt Gunray, because he just seems like too non-combatant, you know?
Hmm. Be kind of cool though. I mean, my first thought for Newt Gunray would be it would be a cool opportunity to do like um Entourage or something like that with Droidicas, or a maybe a command card that gives a little boost to Droidicas, and then you'd see like, oh, there's like a reason to use them a little bit, which would be kind of cool, you know?
Yeah, that'd be fun, especially since, like, I don't know, Droidicas just look cool.
Yeah. I don't want them to be like overpowered, but it'd be cool to have more reasons to use them.
That's another one I bought some Turbo Dork paint for that I've never got around to doing is they also do like color shift metallics,
Okay.
and I've got one that like shifts from like copper to a dark purple.
Oh.
And so I want to paint the like all like the brown coppery bits on some of my droidicas with that to see how they look. I think it'll look cool. But I bought the paint and then just have never got around to actually, fulfill it, actually going through with it.
That could be really cool though.
Yeah, I think they would look neat on the table with that color shift paint like that. Oh no, I dripped some brown on here and missed that. Oh well, we'll just touch that up again. Sure, it won't be the last time I accidentally get some other color on the silver. Now that I'm painting all these other colors, I'm sort of all like, man, doing that silver first was a really dumb idea.
You think you'll do any kind of like scuffs or blaster marks or damage on his silver?
I might try and just sort of like drop a little bit of like uh some sort of a brown wash or brown contrast in some of the recesses
Hmm.
to just sort of have some like dust and stuff settled in there. But I don't think I'm gonna do too much like beating up of his armor really. Because like I mean, even when he takes shots directly to it, it still never looks like that
Yeah, that's true.
beat up. It's still
It really doesn't leave a mark.
kind of good as new. Speaking of like Newt Gunray being in something of like a support character, it reminds me of one thing that I think would be kind of cool to see. That I mean, obviously Legion doesn't have it as a mechanic, but it would be kind of cool. Is have you ever played uh, the Song of Ice and Fire minis game, Kurt?
No, I haven't.
So in that game, I mean, you've got obviously like all your warrior characters, like Ned Stark and Jon Snow and Jaime Lannister and all this other stuff. But then, also a big part of those stories is characters like Tyrion Lannister and like Cersei Lannister or Caitlyn or Sansa Snow or Stark, I mean.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
obviously these characters are not warriors and have no place on the battlefield. So instead, what they have is they have sort of like they have a little side area that's sort of like uh, almost like a political area, and you can each one of your actions is you can place one of these support characters onto like a spot in this sort of like political zone, and depending on where you place them they will have different effects and things like that, which is
Seems fun.
which I think is kind of a neat idea, to get some of these non-combatant characters into a war game.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, Legion's already Legion, so I mean, it would be like a whole new sort of mechanic or something they would have to design, but and I don't know if it would necessarily work with the game as it is. But it's a neat thing in the Song of Ice and Fire that I like.
Yeah. How does the balance kind of feel on that mechanic? It feels like it would be kind of tough to figure out how to make it like the right amount of usefulness without being like too much or something.
Yeah. Um. Well, it's like so I've only played the game like a couple times, so it's not something I'm an expert in. But I just like I kind of remember just thinking like, wow, this is a really cool mechanic. And then like if I remember right, some of the characters like you can sort of put them in any one of the roles in this zone, but like some have bonuses if they're in a different in a certain position, like oh, if you put them here, you get an extra one bonus whatever it gives you. Like I honestly don't even
Hmm.
remember what the how the different positions affect the game because it's been a while since I've played it. But I just remember doing that and thinking it was a kind of a cool way to get, um, yeah, like I said, get the sort of like your non-combatant characters involved in the game.
Yeah, I like that. Because obviously those like non-combat characters are kind of an important part of Star Wars too. Um, your Akbars and Tarkins and Mon Mothmas and all these different people.
Yeah, I mean, and some of them, they can fit into that commander slot, and because I mean, your commander isn't always necessarily, a lot of times you're not using your commander unit for its combat prowess. I mean, obviously sometimes you are when it's a Vader or whatever, but I mean, if you've just got your, you know, Imperial officer in there, or whatever, they're not there because of how strong they are in combat. But I think that I think even Legion's done a fairly good job with some of these, non-combatant type characters with like 3PO and R2.
Yeah, they're starting to kind of dipping their toe into it in some ways over time.
The Walrus has arrived and he loves Star Wars. Well, welcome, Walrus.
And the walrus says Jar Jar Binks has no place on the battlefield, but would be an interesting political support character.
Senator Binks.
That feels more like a flaw card than an asset to your army. If you take Senator Padme, then your enemy can also make you take Senator Jar Jar. Well, Jar Jar just happens to vote in favor of my guy.
Could you imagine if they started adding weird mechanics like that to the game? Sort of like how, like, as time went on, they kept adding more and more shit to the Star Wars. the old Decipher CCG, the card game, to where you were like setting aside, at times you'd be setting aside the game you were playing to stop and just do like Senate votes and shit for a while. I mean, I love that game, but it did go off the rails a little bit at the very end there. I'll admit it. And so his boots appear to be a slightly more yellowy brown. So I'm doing some Steel Legion
Hmm.
drab now on his boots.
Yeah, that feels like a good color. Another kind of grayish, brownish, sort of grayish tan kind of color.
Yeah. And
Drab, I guess.
yeah, and then I'll have to do a little bit of touching up with some of these like straps and stuff because they are slightly, he's got some different like straps and pouches on his um boots that are then get a slightly different color too. So sometimes this is kind of fun though to like and it can be challenging to have a character that kind of uses one color so much in their color scheme, but then you like want to vary it up with different tones and shades and stuff like that to still
Yeah.
uh, break up the character and kind of relieve the monotony of just having everything be one solid color, which unfortunately I end up doing a lot of since I'm primarily an Imperial player. So I end up painting
Hmm.
a lot of just like, oh, Stormtroopers, solid white. Shore Troopers, basically solid tan. Death Troopers, Dark Troopers, solid black. You know, Vader, mostly black too. I mean, and then it's almost like a blessing when you're like doing like the Imperial, like the Royal Guards, and you're like, oh my God, they actually use two different shades of red in these guys. Hallelujah.
Pigpog says, also welcome to the stream, Pigpog. Pigpog says, I would like to see Tarkin as a commander unit. He'll probably work like Veers. Tarkin's one pip is you may fire when ready. When it's played, you remove every unit from play. Like annihilation looms, but like not looming, just firing. Just be done with it.
Annihilation's here, done looming.
It would be fun to be like every unit gets 10 suppression and then also dies immediately after, just for the flavor of it.
I think I am gonna
Yeah, I'm
though.
curious to
Oh,
see how. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna use. I think I'm gonna use just a straight up. Now I know I'd mix this Gothor Brown for his cape. I'm gonna use just a straight up for his like bandolier and belt here because they're kind of like that flat brown with just a touch of gray in it. Kind of it looks like to
Hmm.
me. So you're curious to see what?
Oh, I want to check in at some point and see how Queen's Gambit has been going for Joe. I don't really know much about it other than it's got this crazy bard with all these pieces, you know. I don't really know how the rules work or that much about it, but
Yeah. Well, if I
curious to
remember
see how it
right,
ended
I
up
mean,
going.
so the game is, I mean, basically is supposed to recreate the Battle of Naboo, right? And like you
Yeah, I
actually,
thought so.
so there's like
That
actually,
whole end sequence, right?
yeah, there's actually like multiple different zones on the board. So you're playing Padme fighting inside the palace, but you're also playing as the Gungans and the battle droids fighting out on the fields, and it sounds really cool.
Yeah, I saw from the first set of pictures he posted, you know, it has a whole like 3D building that you set up that I assume is like for the throne room attack,
Uh huh.
basically.
Yeah, we'll have to have Joe tell us all about it in our next episode.
Yeah, I feel like he could do a little recap video. I assume he's maybe not filming this one, but I think he could do like a little uh just like a battle report on it. I think that would be kind of interesting. Need that content.
Hmm.
Some more comments in chat. Chat's kind of popping off tonight. This is nice. Walrus says, I'm pumped for the Bad Batch and Clone Commandos this year. I hope helmet and non helmet options for the Bad Batch. I feel like they said they will. So I'm thinking of the wrong thing.
Yeah, yeah, I'd like that too because there's some like I don't care for I'm not a huge fan of like Echo and Tex helmets, but and like but then I don't like Wrecker's dumb bandana, so I want to put him. So I would put him in a with his helmet on, and what's his face? Big tanky guy.
Uh,
I'm having the worst brain fart
no,
right now.
that's Wrecker, and the other one is Hunter.
Hunter, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, Hunter with his dumb bandana. I don't like it, and then just Wrecker's helmet just looks cool. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was getting confused because I wasn't calling him Rekka and Hunter. So
Rika Hunter.
tick.
And Pigpog says, one unit I'm actually surprised isn't in the game already is the Viper probe droid, which I definitely agree on. That seems like such an obvious one to have way before now.
Yeah, I mean, especially since I mean, they have like self destruct as a mechanic in the game. So
We have lots of little tiny baby probe droids and Sith dark whatever droids they're called. We need the classic. I mean, we were talking about this on the Discord, I don't know, last month or something, because there's the classic Viper probe droid, then there's the solo probe droids that have like the kind of more cylindrical heads with bigger guns and stuff. Both of those would be kind of cool if
yeah,
they could like cost them right and stuff.
didn't they? I think didn't the probe droids that we saw in Rebels were a slightly I don't know if it was they were supposed to be a slightly different model or if it was just another case of like them kind of hyper stylizing things a little bit.
In Rebels, um, I don't remember. I don't really remember. I feel like they were just normal. Other than the like little Inquisitor droids, I feel like they had normal probe droids
I
maybe, but I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I thought I remember their proportions being off a little bit, but I could be wrong. And like I said, it could just be, like them doing their hyper stylistic kind of
Yeah, I would believe that.
trying to
They
get.
definitely do that a lot with some of the ships and stuff. So
Ooh,
Walrus says we need Jabba the Hutt as a Merc unit leader. So many cool unit options for Mercs. Like honestly, we've got way more iconic mercenary and bounty hunter type people in Imperial Assault than Legion so far. It probably makes more sense for Imperial Assault, but still, like that was a really good use of Jabba in that game. I thought he had some cool support abilities that were very thematically good. It's sort of like order other characters to go after bounties and stuff like that.
yeah, that would be fun.
I think he would fit less well in Legion, but I think he would still be cool. And it would be neat. Like, we got the whole Shadow Collective faction. That really makes me want
Like
more
a
Merc units.
yeah, what the heck's his family? Like the Hut tribe name? Like the does Jillik?
Desaligic. Yeah.
Yeah, however you pronounce
Yeah,
it.
that could be like its own faction. And then you could add like some like Weequay units and
Nyctos
Tatooinean
and
units.
Klaatu.
Yeah, those would all be really cool, depending on what they do. You could have like maybe a skiff uh could be its own vehicle unit. That would be cool. Or I mean I guess we already have swoop bikes, so maybe those could just be included in the faction, the existing ones, but
Yeah,
I feel like
seems
there's a
like it
bunch
could
of
be.
scum stuff you could do. It's like what else are they going to add to Shadow Collective at this point? It feels like they already have everything that was in that faction at the time, but they could add other mercenary stuff that would be fun. Now, if they have one mercenary faction, I feel like they could have others, and the Huts would be more likely to field a big army type operation than some scum units.
Yeah,
So
the Huts control multiple planets and stuff like that. So they have fleets and things to move
yeah,
troops around. It's not out of the I mean,
the
there's
realm of possibility.
yeah, I mean they could bring the Zan consortium into it if they wanted to just kind of start from scratch. I mean, because the Zan consortium is doesn't really exist in canon. I think outside of like it's been mentioned in some like guides and stuff, but not in any like shows or movies or
Like real
novels.
canon. Yeah.
Yaba.
Yeah, there needs to be when once they add Jabba, they can add a flaw card for Cassian where he has to drop what he's doing and go touch Jabba. Or it could be maybe it's a mission that only Cassian can fulfill. Uh like one of the kind of the game night OP missions. You have to play Cassian versus Jabba, and Cassian has to get into base contact to get a victory point. Eventually, we'll get Greedo, Dengar, Zuckuss, Forlom, etc. I hope so. I mean, Dengar seems like the natural choice to go to next with bounty hunters. He's really cool. People would like him,
No.
and I would love to get
Nobody would like
Zuckuss and
Dengar.
Forlom.
Forlam, though, he's my boy. I love Forlam.
It's
I,
just sad that we'd never get Zuckuss in any games. Like, just add him. I think he's cool, and like we never get him in anything. He was an X-wing, but and that's it. Really, it seems like he was never in Imperial Assault. But Dengar was. Forlom's cool too. Forlom at least is in Outer Rim. But getting a mini would be really cool.
yeah, I mostly love Forlam just because I know that they've changed his like origin some, but I've always just loved his in Legends his origin story was just so goofy that I always loved the dude.
Was it something more than being a like a gem thief or whatever?
Well, it's he started at so he worked on a like he was just like a protocol droid like on a luxury cruise ship,
Hmm.
and like he started to malfunction, and his malfunction like gave him kleptomania.
Okay.
So yeah, so then he like started stealing from all the passengers and stuff, and then eventually this he he got caught and escaped and became a bounty hunter and stuff. But I don't know. I just find the idea of him being a droid on this cruise ship and then stealing from all the rich passengers to be extremely funny.
Walrus says, I think a mission type called Rampaging Rancor would be fun, where Rancor would move around the board attacking units that get too close. Just a thought I always thought would be cool. I do
Yeah,
think it would be really awesome to see like, like Rancor versus ATST battles or Rancor versus tank and just like have an awesome
I
like
mean it's very
mini
that is very similar to how the uh, the Dianoga scenario works.
mm-hmm.
Um, but players can also move the Dianoga around, which I think kind of messes with it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, those that scenario always kind of ends up devolving into just the two players kind of throwing the Dianoga at each other and letting it do most of the fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's fun, but also kind of like, God, my my pot my paint is like it just keeps bubbling out the top. Gross. Um, yeah. So I don't know. Like it's fun to play just a little bit, but not like the sort of thing I would want to do all the time. I feel like you could though with like a Rancor or a Wampa or something like that on the board, give it a little bit more thought than I think they put into that Dianoga scenario, and it could definitely be something very fun for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if they did do like a Jabba faction, a Rancor, for that would be really cool, like with the chains hanging off it and stuff. Um,
Look, all I
like I
really
could really
want.
see him like turning it loose on the battle, and maybe it would have a rule that it could sometimes lose control and hit your own guys or something. But it'd be neat to see it turned loose against an army.
You know what? Love or hate Book of Boba Fett. I don't really. Whatever your opinion is, I think everyone's got to admit that if they made a faction out of that and then made um like Boba Fett riding a Rancor that was like a unit that like took up like it was like a took up a heavy slot but also had the like field commander ability so he could also be your army commander or something like that would be just fun as hell to have on the board.
But yeah, because I feel like every minis game needs a ridiculous, oversized unit that most people don't want to spend the money on. Like Armada has the Superstar Destroyer. Uh, Star Trek, whatever, had that Borg cube, and I think they had a DS9 at one point
Uh-huh.
too.
Yep. Both of
Like
which were
40K
awesome.
has the giant Titans and Gorka Morkas and stuff. So you need
So
some ridiculous unit that most people aren't going to buy, but it looks awesome on the table.
so I could not believe the other day I was in for or it was when we did our Legion store championships that someone didn't come to, but he could have.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Not naming names.
not
Yeah.
naming any names of who wasn't there, but um, they also had there's a big some guys were doing a big like Horus Heresy
Yeah.
Warhammer game, and they had like 6 or 7 Titans on the table. It was
Wow.
crazy. And like one guy brought like four, like one, like 4 of them were like one guy's. Like holy shit, dude.
Too rich for my blood.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I
I do
did.
like the Superstar
Yeah,
Destroyer,
I
so
did
I guess
buy
I should
this.
talk.
I did buy that too. I did buy the Superstar Destroyer. Yeah, I mean, in like X-wing, there's a lot of players who are never going to own the epic stuff too.
Yeah. Sadly, I would love to use mine. They're very cool models, but it's another one that FF or not FFG, AMG doesn't seem to have any interest in, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
don't
say
think they ever updated those with 2.5. I don't think.
no.
Like the hard costs and stuff.
There's no there's no 2.5 compatible rules for epic ships.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I know they're probably not used by a lot of people, but still, it would be cool to be able to.
Especially with some of these, like these scenarios, like that would be the perfect place to work the big ships back in, like this Endor scenario.
Yeah, for real. That would really make it stand out from the other scenario packs. Like, just do something crazy, I say.
And painting, just I have you watched much about like these Warhammer fanatic paints?
No, I don't think I know anything about it.
So
It's like a
Warhammer,
new paint line
I
or
mean
what?
not Warhammer, Army Painter. Oh my god.
Yeah, still, I don't think I heard of it for them either.
So they're basically reformulating their whole paint line,
Okay.
and they are and they've got new it's like new, like more vibrant uh paints and stuff. Like in videos, it just seems amazing. Like they actually make like yellows and oranges that will like go over a black base coat in like one coat and be
Okay.
like you'll look at it and be like, yeah, I'll maybe put a second coat on just to be safe, but it's like you wouldn't need to. It's like, and they're building them all in like all these really nice like um well, they call them expanded color triads because they're like in groups of like six colors. So it's sort of like two triads together, but you can kind of combine the whole range along there. Um, I don't know. It just like everything about it. I mean, and they've got they're going to be shipping with the um, they're improving their formula so it doesn't have all of the like the medium you always have to squirt out of the bottle the first time you use it,
Mm-hmm.
like the way what they call it, like the just the paint juice or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I hate that. Like, it seems like I always get it no matter how much I mix.
Oh, ouch. I saw Walrus say that his store championship only had two people. Yeah, we did better.
Wow.
We had four. So, yeah. Did we have six? No, I think we only had four this time. I think we had six at the first one. We had three people show up to our X-Wing store championship that we did. Um, that was real sad. And again, I don't know. It's weird because it's like, and it's all almost like all has been out of towners who've been attending.
Hmm.
None of the local players have been playing lately.
It's interesting because I thought they had, I don't know the numbers, but I thought they had a decent turnout for that X-Wing League they did this summer, which was like a mix of old and new players, I thought.
Yeah, I thought so too. And so like I thought that there was going to be more at this X-wing thing, but and I would have thought that more of the like because there's a few players up in like Thief River and stuff like that a few more like out of towner people that I thought would have come that didn't either. But what do you do? I'll keep judging the and TOing the tournaments for the store as long as they keep giving me like gift cards and stuff. So
Hmm.
this might be too blue. I don't know. Probably be okay once I shade it. Because these panels, unlike his hips, are like kind of a weird, like very dark blue.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
And I think I may have went with not quite dark enough. Like I maybe should have mixed a little bit of black in there. But yeah, I think it'll be okay once I. Oh geez, I almost washed my brush off in my iced tea. What do you mean they took all the lights like in the shop? Uh, Walrus. Does your store not have like ceiling lights or were they doing painting or something and they took all the painting lights or
Random players doing a tournament.
well yeah no
Lights
okay
in the
we said
shop.
tournaments so yeah so that's
Huh.
here is shitty Citadel metallic. No, not Rune Fang. That's garbage. Lead Belcher. There we
I feel like that's looking pretty good with all those extra colors on there. Like,
go.
kind of
Yeah,
makes the silver pop to have the
yeah.
other stuff around it.
And it's funny how just little things like those yellow tips of his gloves, um,
Yeah,
like
to make it come
like
together.
they're yeah like they're the sort of thing like I probably wouldn't think of to do myself. But then when you actually see it on here, and like as you start painting it, all of a sudden you're like, oh, that really pops and looks nice. Oh no, not this yet. I want my Doom Bull. Yeah, got to make sure to get this the right color here too, because he's got a different colored. So this plate here on his, I guess it would be on his right leg. I painted
Mhm.
silver. Um, but in season one, this is all a brown and black plate. And then in season two, it's a different plate. Season 2 and 3, it's yet another different plate. But the way they modeled this one is on the plate that's on his leg in season 1. So we're gonna paint it like that with the browns and blacks in it.
Yeah, as cool as the silver is, I really liked the idea of doing the season 1 episode 1 with the old armor, the kind of reddish brown on one plate. I feel like it was like a cream color or cream stripe or something on one of the plates.
Yeah, well, because
It
like I
doesn't
think
quite match the plates that are sculpted on there, but that was pretty easy to cover up with paint too, I felt like.
yeah. Well, I think yeah, because like isn't one of his like shoulder pauldrons actually like a shore trooper pauldron? So it's cream and it's got the stripe on it and stuff.
I don't remember if it's the exact same, but definitely similar vibes. It was like a blue or something, but yeah. Don't get me wrong, the silver is cool, but I was like, I really like those interesting like browns and stuff and slightly more kind of I don't know, kind of retro looking colors for his plates. I thought those were just cool. I think the one mod I ended up doing on that was he has the Mudhorn logo,
And
right?
yep.
So
So did you
I
scrape
kind of
that off or
yeah, I kind of chopped it and smoothed it down because that would have really stood out. But I think the rest is, even though some of the other plate details are slightly off, it was like that looks close enough that it doesn't really matter. The colors were the biggest thing. Have you painted your Grogu for him yet, or are you going to do that
yeah,
soon
I've
too?
painted all three of them. Here, let me go get
That
him
was fun
quick.
that they had those other ones too.
Yeah, here's the Grogu's I did. So I did them all up with like I put most of them up on kind of like I put him up on some kind of pedestal because they're so tiny. And I gave them all kind of like a Navarro kind of
Oh yeah.
lava flats. I didn't actually put any of the lava or anything, but just like the gray, the
Yeah.
dusty.
Those those rocks look really good. I think that adds to it. Prop them up a little higher too.
So yeah, the
I
all
like the
three
little plants too.
all three Grogu's painted up. So I figured, yeah, today's a good night, or tonight's a good night then to finally finish up Mando to go with them. Because eventually, like right now, I'm mostly playing Imperial Remnant, but like I said, I kind of flip back and forth. I mean, not Imperial Remnant, Blizzard Force, but I kind of tend to flip flop back and forth between playing Imperials and playing Rebels. Usually, I mostly play Imperials, and then Rebels will put out like a new unit I want to play, like you know, like when Bad Batch comes out, I'll probably play with them, or when um Phoenix Squad comes out,
Saboteurs.
definitely gonna get those guys. Um,
Yeah, I wonder when we'll get more details on any of those things. I don't know that we really have uh, much of a time frame on them.
my problem with Rebels is I always then I build a Rebel army using whatever cool new units just come out, and then I play them, and I like that unit, but then I remember that I just really don't like playing Rebels.
Um,
Like I don't know, like they're like the more defensive play style you tend to do with them. I again, it depends on the army you're playing and stuff, but and just rolling so many white dice, defense dice, when I'm used to rolling mostly reds with my Imperial army, it's hard to go to those white defense dice.
yeah, it can be tough.
Um, so yeah, so you can also see like I've got sort of the same kind of base prepared for Mando. Like I've got a little rock on his base and stuff too. So after he's all done, we'll kind of it's mostly just, it's already black, so it's mostly just dry brushing a little bit of gray over the blacks I've already got and calling it a day.
Yeah, that works well though.
Um, and maybe like, a tuft of grass or two and call it good.
Yeah, I liked those scraggly little brown tufts you had. Not like healthy looking grass, but looks very appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Walrus is calling it a night. This was fun. Thanks for watching. It's good to have some extra chatters tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for hanging out, guys.
So have there been any interesting unlimited cards announced lately,
Um,
recently?
I mean, they just showed off Jabba here. Was that yesterday?
Okay.
Jabba the
I,
Hutt.
I don't I don't do as good of a job keeping up with the latest ones as you do. What
Yeah.
kind of abilities does he have?
So okay, so there's there's a event cards in the game, right? That you play them and they have their effect and then they're done. They're gone. They're not,
Hmm.
they don't stay out permanently. Um, and then cards can have different traits. Like most of the stormtrooper cards say have the imperial trait or whatever. Well, some of these events have a trick trait. So like, oh, these cards are a
Okay.
trick. Like there's one called Bamboozle. That's like the art is Han talking in the Death
The
Star. What?
detention
Yeah, when
block.
he's all like, "I'm fine. How are you?" Um,
So
uh,
that's another trick
yeah. So
event.
so like that's an event that has the trick trait. And so anyways, Jabba, he has two different abilities. One is he just as long as he's in play, all your trick cards, and I think he specifies trick events, but I
Okay.
I don't foresee a future where there would be like a unit that has the trick trait, but you never know, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, he makes them all cost one less resource to play, which
Wow.
is awesome because like some of the tricks have some a lot of them have some really cool abilities that I mean most of them are like exhausting your opponent's units or returning your opponent's units to their hands.
Hmm.
So they really help you kind of control the battlefield. And then so Jabba makes them cost one less. And then he also just like when you play him, he lets you search your deck, or he lets you search the top 8 cards of your deck, anyways, and pull a trick card out of there if you have one.
Yeah, that seems like it could be really big.
Yeah, no, it's I think he's a good card. I mean, he's good. He's not great, but I mean, I think most yellow. I mean, like yellow. That's cunning. Is he's a cunning card, cunning aspect. That's the
Hmm.
yellow, and most basically all the trick, and so are all the trick cards. Um, so I mean, most cunning decks are already running multiple copies of those trick cards anyways because they're already so good,
Hmm.
and then having Jabba there to reduce their cost is just sort of like icing on the cake.
Yeah, especially if you're removing enemy units. There's a point where you could be kind of coming ahead on, or like getting ahead on the cost on that. Like, it, if it costs very little for you to remove an enemy unit, but costs them a decent amount to get it back on the board,
Uh-huh.
you're kind of getting ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, so I think he a lot of like Boba Fett decks are gonna slot Jabba into them.
Is he not a leader card, just a normal card?
Yeah, no, Jabba's just this Jabba card is just a standard unit. I mean, I
Okay.
won't be surprised if down the road we see a Jabba that is also a leader, but this particular one is just a standard unit.
It's interesting.
I forget.
What are what are some of the yellow leaders that we do know about today? Like
Um,
who would be the leader for a deck that has Java in it, do you think?
I think mostly Boba. I mean, for
Okay.
because Jabba's a villain, or he has the villainy aspect. So you're most likely only going to be playing him with a leader that also has the villainy aspect, which right now would be either Boba Fett or Thrawn, and he fits a little bit better into a Boba deck than a Thrawn, but I mean, really, he could be in either one. Um, yeah. Otherwise, for other yellow leaders right now, we have the for the heroism leaders, we have Han and ah, I'm having a brain fart on the
Like
other.
Jin or something or what?
No, Jin is red. She's
Okay.
aggression. Luke's heroism. Leia's command. Is it? Uh,
Or like, was it like a Rebels character or something?
well, yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking. Is it Ezra?
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm having a big brain fart.
Hey, Joe's in the chat.
How did Queen's Gambit go, Joe?
Yeah, I want to know. I'm sure you posted on Discord, but we're too busy to go look there.
Also, what color is Mando's gun? Is it just all silver? I get it. I
That
gotta go.
sounds right to
I
me.
gotta go Google this quick. No, black. It's black with a couple silver highlights and a wood stock or wood
Hmm.
grip. What do you know? Well, what do you know? Oh, oh, shut up.
See, Joe has not responded yet, but the people demand answers.
Yeah, the people want to know.
Did the queen succeed at her gambit?
Oh,
Who
geez.
was the queen?
I'm gonna do it one of these times. This is yet another time I was like centimeters away from dipping my paintbrush into um my iced tea that I have sitting near the painting area instead of the water cup. So very dangerous. But also it's like if I don't have something to drink and we're sitting here talking this whole time, my throat gets so dang dry. Well, it's at least it's not as bad as like I know like people who use actual like coffee cups for their paint cups. It's much
Oh,
easier for
yeah.
them to to get things mixed up.
That seems so risky.
Oh, here's my little.
I'm just going to go to Discord and check. Let's see. Oh, yeah. The Beard posted some nice Shatterpoint paint jobs too, by the way, on Discord. Do-do-do. Other tabletop games. Mm, Joe's last update was that it's going poorly for Naboo, but there's no conclusion posted. Maybe on Twitter. Let's see.
Maybe he's still playing and just had a chance to check on the game chat or the game chat in between turns or something. Oh man, my kid got some of those bamboozled beans for Christmas one time. Ugh, there are some
That
nasty ass
is
flavors in there.
doesn't sound pleasant. I don't want to eat anything that is intentionally gross. Not for me.
So the thing is like, yeah, they have like good flavors mixed in with the bad ones. So they're like the Birdie bots every flavor whatchamacallits from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So you never really know what you're gonna get, you know?
I would just rather buy things that I know taste good,
Yeah, well,
not stuff that has
you're not
not for me.
you're not a weird little kid like my son, so
Yeah, that's for sure.
but, I mean it was like at the time I think it was like at the time it was like one of those things where it was all like all kinds of people on YouTube were like making videos of themselves eating the dumb things. So of course my
Mm-hmm.
kid was all like, "Oh, I got to get those nasty ass things
Mm-hmm.
cuz I saw some dipshits on YouTube do eat them too."
Mm-hmm. I mean, our generation had uh nuclear warheads, but like at least those actually taste good inside. Man, I will say the one downside to trying to use more speed paints and contrast paints is like not having things not having normal colors that really match it for doing like touch ups and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like I can tell where I've like touched up it, and it's like I want it to be easier to do a little cleanup without it looking like a slightly different shade.
Yeah, that's why
It's kind of unavoidable, but
I tend to stay away from the speed paints when I'm doing like hero units, like this.
yeah,
And that's more for like when I'm doing the
squads and stuff.
squads of I'm at a time and I'm all like, yeah, we're gonna save some minutes here. You know what? I bet Joe was just at the game store pooping and looking at his phone, and that's why he messaged and popped into chat. Oh my god, skunk spray? I'm glad I never got one that bad.
Ugh, no thanks.
Some of the ones that were supposed to be bad, oddly, I kind of thought were good. Like there's like this grass one or whatever that I thought tasted pretty good, honestly.
Did it taste like scotch?
No, it's a. I mean, it tasted kind of like grass, but I don't know. It wasn't
I
like.
remember my friend I remember my friend doing a Scotch flight one time, and that was the descriptions of all the flavors was like grass and rope and peat bog and stuff, and I was just like, not for me.
Yeah, I don't know. There's sometimes people. I think they, like when they do these tastings, they do like. I think that they just make shit up. Sometimes people do. Like, I
To
mean,
sound like they know.
I drink it. I'm all like, yeah, I don't really taste that or whatever, Or I mean, there is a lot of complexity to some of these scotches and stuff like that, and yeah, I mean, different flavors do develop over times. But like, I remember eating at this one restaurant in town once, uh, and me and my wife just started giggling at the wine list because one of the wines, like they listed the tasting notes as like pencil shavings, and they literally just had dirt as the tasting note for another one, and we're like,
Great.
yeah, we want that one. Give me some dirt wine. But like the pencil shavings one just cracked us up. We're like, have you eaten pencil shavings? Do you really know what
I
that tastes like?
can definitely picture the smell, but yeah, it's not something I would want to be eating.
Thing I always wonder with those bamboozles is like, do they have guys out there like ensuring flavor accuracy? You know, like who's the guy eating skunk spray to make sure that their fake skunk spray tastes the same? I
Yeah, it's like an
imagine.
accuracy and advertising thing, right? Like I'm gonna call the Better Business Bureau if it's not accurate.
Uh huh. I love skunk spray, and this was nothing like that. I bet if they did, it probably is you get paid pretty good to go out and eat skunk spray and shit.
It's like this guy's one talent, able to eat gross stuff.
Well, I think, other than touching up that one spot of brown I got on the silver, I do believe that my base coating of din is completely done here.
And pretty good, in my opinion.
So yeah, here's that Turbo Dork silver paint I was talking about. There we go.
And
And
on camera, it almost looks like white from a distance.
well, you can see like I didn't have the first splotch I painted out. I squirted out quite shook
Yeah,
up
maybe
enough
that's
so you
why.
can see like that's almost white because it's mostly medium, but then this one is much more silver.
Yeah, okay, I see that now. Yeah, it's really catching the light better. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a really bright silver.
Yeah. The thing is it is sort of designed to go on like in a couple coats also. So it's designed like it's specifically designed like you're supposed to put it over like a black prime and do it in multiple very thin coats. So it can be sort of tedious to put on, but I mean if you want like a shiny silver, I think you cannot really um, argue with the results you get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Nobody around me carries a too thin coat paint, so I have not got to try them yet. Um, Evan, he didn't pop in tonight at all, but I believe that he has some of the too thin coats, and he generally likes them. Um, yeah, like I said, personally, I haven't had a chance to just because nowhere near me has them, and I just I guess I've never whenever I want a paint, I never end up being like I'm gonna order something online. It's like I just run to the game
Yeah.
store and grab what I want.
Yeah, I'm a little curious myself. I usually don't hear that much about that brand. I feel like they're not, you know, operating at even though I think they're well known, I think they're not like producing at a big enough scale for me to see them actually mentioned a lot. They're not usually what's being mentioned in people's like recipes basically. At
Yeah,
least I don't feel like they are.
they're also pretty new, so
Yeah, true.
we were talking about unlimited just a little bit ago, Riley. Um, and I know, like personally, I'm super excited about the game because it's I just like Star Wars card games in general, and yeah, I've been happy with pretty much everything I've been seeing for the game from Fantasy Flight. Um, I think in multiple ways, both as just like a fan of games and as like us as content creators for um, Star Wars gaming stuff. I think
Yeah.
we've Fantasy Flight has done a much better job working and coordinating with different content creators um, than they ever have in the past. And personally, for us, it's been really nice and refreshing.
Yeah, you can tell they're putting a lot of effort in to really involving people and a lot of different sizes too, you know. Um like I would say in the last year, AMG has started sending out a lot more promo products, but it's mostly only to like big creators. It doesn't seem like a lot. Like Joe got those Geonosians, but that's really the only thing we've seen. But Unlimited, they're like really trying to involve people a lot, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean it's a crazy big push from them. Well, and I know like they're putting more into this upfront than they have with any other game, as far as like promotions and working with content creators. And I mean, even just their work with designing the game. Like, it's one of the biggest design teams any game at Fantasy Flight has. I think it is the biggest design team any game at Fantasy Flight has ever had, is what they've said.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, so I think that just shows how much they want this to succeed. I mean, and and that's the thing though too is like you almost have to do this. I mean, the TCG market right now is quite flooded. I mean, there's a lot of games out there. And then I mean, even if there wasn't a lot of games out there, uh, you're still always going to be competing with kind of those, some of those big dogs in the yard. You're going to be competing with Magic. You're going to be competing with um, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. Um, and nowadays there's other stuff you got to think about. You're going to be competing with One Piece. You're going to be competing with Lorcana. Um,
Like obviously the Star Wars name is a big uh force multiplier there, but yeah, I think it's not enough on its
A
own.
pun. What a pun.
Hey Joe,
hey,
Hey,
Joe. Yes.
I'm.
we were talking about you behind your back.
That's okay. I'm just popping in to say hi to everyone in the chat. I'm working on editing a video for this very channel, so I need to spend my time on that instead of hanging out. I thought I could stop in, say hi, and drop a discussion card on you guys before I head out.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Although it did sound like you guys had a pretty good discussion. I don't want to derail it.
Let's hear your discussion card quick. We'll
It
jump
says,
back.
look at the person across from you, or think of a friend or family member. Which Star Wars ship
Okay.
or vehicle can you imagine that person piloting?
Well, Kurt is across from me. It metaphor in spirit right now.
I imagine Kurt flying a Hawk 290.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say, something similar to that. I think I was gonna, go more like the Outrider,
Hmm. Yeah.
YT 2400.
I picture
Uh
Leo flying something like whatever the Mist Hunter is, only because it's like not great, and like I could picture him like complaining about it as he flew it.
a G1A heavy starfighter. When I imagine Leo piloting a ship, I think of an Onager class Star Destroyer dreadnought, whatever it's called, from Armada.
Okay, I'm gonna hop off and
Okay.
edit. I'm editing a Legion gameplay video.
Ooh,
Nice.
exciting.
We were saying earlier, before you jump off, we were saying earlier you should do like a quick battle report about Queen's Gambit. Just
I
talk about how the
did.
match went.
I will. I also recorded a little bit, and I
Nice.
was planning on putting out like a short, just of. But if you remember Star Wars Risk 2015, that game was sort of like a reboot of Queen's Gambit. Basically the same game mechanics, just kind of pared down a lot, which I decided makes it worse because part of what made Queen's Gambit so enjoyable was how excessive and much of like a table hog it was. It was from Avalon Hill too. I didn't know that. It was like Avalon Hill and Hasbro. Um, but it was fun. It sort of boils down to just a lot of dice rolls. It felt like it was balanced in favor of the Separatists, which also, or I guess the Trade Federation, more accurately,
Mhm.
uh, which also like it what made it harder, but also felt right because the droids were just mopping up all of the Gungans,
Mhm.
which and if you there's like four fields of battle. There's the palace, which has a bunch of palace guards, two queens, one of which is the real queen, but only the people playing the good guys know which one it is.
Mhm.
Um, and Panaka, and they're trying to kill the droids and ascend to the third level because it's 3 floors. And the goal they win if there's more Naboo people on the top floor than there are Trade Federation people. and there are two Newt Gunray and his bro are up there, and they can't be defeated. So you need at least three Naboo people to survive and make it to the top. And everything else is sort of like just supporting that, which is, I guess, what happens in the movie. Their only goal is to get to the Viceroy to like tell him to chill. And so there's all of the Gungans and the droids in the battlefield, and all that happens is if you like wipe out a unit, you get a bonus card. Anakin is just trying to get through droid fighters, and you just have to you roll 2d6s, and there's 1 through 12, and like 3 of those numbers are like a fail and the rest are successes, and the other player can try and like make those rolls harder. And if Anakin gets all the way to the control ship, all of the droids shut down, which makes it pretty much a win for the other team. But then Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are fighting Maul, and defeating any of those people grant you bonus cards. But whoever lives can just run out of the shield generator to the palace and start mopping up. So when we were playing, Qui-Gon died pretty quick, and then Obi-Wan and Maul had a close fight, but Obi-Wan died. So then Maul just starts hauling ass back to the palace to start chopping up palace guards. It was a pretty cool game. I want to play it again. But it does just sort of just a dice chucking fest.
Yeah. It sure looks cool in the pictures with the whole multi-level setup for the palace and stuff.
Right. That's why part of what makes it more fun than Star Wars Risk 2015.
Mm-hmm. So you talk about nobody knows which queen is the real one. Reminds me of a story I was reading like the other day about. I forget. I think it was. I forget if it was Natalie Portman's mom or Keira Knightley's mom, but one of the two's mom was talking about how when she would visit her daughter on set, and the two Portman and Knightley were both in like their handmaiden makeup, she had a hard time telling which one was actually her daughter.
Yeah, and there's really no the only benefit to defeating the real queen, I think, is you just get bonus card draw. Maybe there was a different endgame condition where if like the real queen dies, they win, but I think it's just you get more bonus for defeating the real one. But yeah, it was cool, and I'm like, oh, I want to play this with like Legion scale, AATs and battle droids and everything. Just keep all the gameplay the same, just enhance all the miniatures. But
So I put a wash down here on Mando everywhere except for the Beskar bits, which I said I'm gonna put a little bit of a Agarax Earthshade or some kind of brown wash in a couple places, like in some of like the seams or like ridges, like on his shoulder pads or something, just to kind of dirty it up a little bit. But I'm hoping it'll mostly just get toned down just a tiny bit when I give it the matte paint job. But yeah, so I'm still gonna have to highlight this guy, but gotta wait till all my wash dries here because I thinned it a bit, so it's gonna take a while to dry. So I think that's probably a pretty good place to stop here tonight then.
Yeah. It's looking good though. I mean, the extra wash I think really does add some nice definition to those like the clothing folds and stuff. So that's good.
Yeah, and then like I said, then I'll have to just do a little bit of highlighting. Maybe like put some like scratchy scuff marks on like the holster here and some stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think it's, like I said, I think it ends up looking really nice with all these different. I mean, it's it's mostly brown, but you do all these different shades of it, and it works. And then yeah, just like when you do have these different colors, like that little bit of yellow and stuff, it just really makes those spots pop. Huh. That's cool. I'm happy with how it's turning out. So
Are you
Nice.
doing like Navarro for the base?
yeah, like here's the like the Grogu's. I showed him off on stream earlier, but this is like how I based the Grogu's. So yeah, so he'll kind of match that look.
Neat.
Um, but yeah, it's I thanks to everyone who joined us here tonight. It was really nice. We had a good crowd. People were more
Yeah,
chatty than
good
usual,
discussion.
so it was really good.
Oh, it's probably because I was gone.
Yeah, yeah. You weren't scaring them off, Joe. So thank you. All right. Well, yeah. So we're gonna be trying to do this. We're trying to make it a little bit more regular, at least once a month. Um, like shooting for the second Tuesday of every month.
Mhm.
Plus possibly additional ones. Um, as time allows, but for sure trying to hit the that second Tuesday of every month. So uh, yeah. Until next time, I guess. Have a good night, Kurt. Good
Thanks,
night, Joe.
everyone.
Bye
See
bye.
ya.